Great Nigerians, I'm glad you're there watching Living TV. We are at it again. Today is your program, Nigeria Today. In Nigeria Today, we are going to look at two topics joined in one. One is the lawyer CBN, House of Reps, threatens Emefile with a warrant of arrest. And today, your analyst and a lawyer of a repute is here with me to do justice to this. That is Barrister Chukwuemeka Wogo. Barrister Chukwuemeka Wogo is a practicing lawyer, a security consultant, and a public affairs analyst. Barrister Chukwuemeka, welcome to the program.
Thank you, moderator, and good day, viewers.
Right. A professor of law, Joshua Olobo, on Thursday approached the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, praying to stop the CBN from proceeding with the January 31st deadline stipulated for the phasing out of the Naira notes. I know sometime in this studio we've talked about the rights of the CBN to do what they are doing. Now, counsel, now that a lawyer has taken, a professor of law for that matter, not just a lawyer, and then
sorry, what did you say?
A professor of law.
I'm
not a lawyer, not just a lawyer.
That is disparaging
sorry
of the legal. That's very disparaging of the legal profession. Because being a professor of law makes him more of an academic.
And not even a practicing lawyer.
Except if he's also into law practice.
For him to have gone to anyway, that is not enough to determine whether he's practicing.
So there is no just a lawyer. A lawyer is a lawyer.
Noted.
Okay.
All right, so he's in court. Yeah. Depending on what we talked about the other time, we also hear when we talked about the rights of the CBN to do what they are doing. And now he takes him to court, asking him to forget about the 31st January deadline. Is he going to make anything out of that?
Well, remember that when a matter is in court, it's against, it amounts to what you call sub judice. It's an insult to the court. It impacts on the integrity of the court for the merits of that case to be discussed outside that court without the approval of the court. That is why even when you want to go into settlement of a case that is pending in court, you report to the court, and the court gives you, even the court will encourage you, but all you need to do is to show that respect to the court by seeking approval or leave of the court to go and settle out of court. Having said so, just without meaning to go into the merits of that particular case, because I'm not even abreast of the facts thereof, just saying generally, this particular policy of the CBN is backed up by the provisions of the Constitution. They are statutory responsibility and role. Furthermore, it's also approved by the chief executive of the country, that is Mr. President. And it has been on board for about how many months now? Since about September or October. Yes, that it was mooted. And the deadline was given. The person who you say has gone to court today knew about all these things and did nothing until at this 11th hour. You see, when I don't know if he's also asking for an injunction to stop the implementation of the exercise commencing.
They urge the court to issue a mandatory, extending the detention.
That's what I'm saying. If he is aware, one of the principles for the grant or refusal of an injunction or injunctive relief is that the party must not be guilty of delay. So where a party was aware of the position of things, that this is the date fixed, and then for how many months everybody has been busy discussing it, he did nothing. 2-3 days, 2-3 working days. You said he went on Thursday.
Yeah.
Today is Friday, and now you have 2 more days left. 3 days, 3 working days to the
deadline.
To the deadline. He approaches the court. I am not the court. I am not the judge. I don't know how the court will decide it. But speaking as a lawyer, I know that I've just told you the principle of law. In my own humble opinion, that might, the court may or may not, depend. You don't take any of these principles in isolation. But the court, I'm sure it will weigh heavily on the mind of the court that this lawyer, being a lawyer and of very, very great repute, as you said, a professor of law, he ought to know better. I wouldn't know what the students are being taught, but he ought to know better. So waiting all these weeks and months before approaching the court. But remember, we are merely speculating. The matter is in court. It is the court that will decide.
All right. It was not just about Emefile and the CBN. Even the Attorney General of the Federation, was also cited, as the first to the third defendant.
Yeah, when you are suing government or agencies of government whose policies will impact on the government or have the government support, remember, Mr. President has immunity, and he is the one that gave approval for this. Yeah. So the government automatically, it is a government project. Okay. Now, when you want to sue the government, you bring in the Attorney General as his chief law officer.
Okay.
So that's why the Attorney General is there.
Okay, well, you've said it all. We would have gone into finding out whether the court will grant that mandatory.
No, we are not competent at this stage
to talk about that. All right, let us look at this. The House of Representatives on Thursday shelved its plan to go on break for the presidential and National Assembly elections over the failure by Emefile to appear at the House. They were supposed to go on break, but because of this, Emefile's refusal to appear, they had to shelve it. The House of Representatives on Thursday shelved its plan to go on break. All right, Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, at the plenary on Tuesday declared that he would issue a warrant of arrest to Emefile after the CBN chief's failure to answer the summons on Thursday the second time. Now, considering the Constitution, like you rightly put here, that the Emefile is operating on, will the House of Representatives, do they equally have the right to give a warrant of arrest?
Yes, by their rules, they can direct for the arrest and production of any person who has been invited, any public officer indeed, or a person who has a public duty to clarify on issues, and the person, there is recalcitrance to appear before them. Yes, they can compel attendance by directing the relevant security agencies to ensure that the person is produced before them, not for purposes of incarcerating the person, but for purposes of answering to their summons or invitation. Remember that the National Assembly, like any other legislative house, they have oversight functions regarding or responsibility regarding the activities of government institutions. And so at any given point in time, the heads of these institutions ought ordinarily to be answerable to the National Assembly as a representative of the people. However, many times it is disdained. Such invitation has been known to be disdained in the past. Occasionally, on very few occasions, they have summoned the courage to direct for the arrest and production of the person before the House. But it's always a political, more of a political thing. So I don't know how this one will play out. But to say that the House, decided to shelve their recess because of one man who is not a member of the House, it gives the impression that the House is jobless. It gives the impression that the House is jobless. I'm not saying that they are jobless. I said it gives the impression. So if this man does not come, you don't have any other thing to do, you know. So you continue waiting and things like that. Remember also that we've done several analysis on this particular program and sister ones, whereby we were able to bring to the fore that the mischief targeted by the executive is to frustrate vote buying. We are going into elections. Asking for extension of the policy, in the deadline of the implementation of the policy, would mean that the aim is being defeated. So, right now, everybody in the country knows that the new notes, the old notes are going away by, in fact, some people have started rejecting the old notes. Though I am still accepting the old notes. I am still accepting. So if you have some of the old notes that you no longer need, you might do well to give me. I will accept. I have nothing against it. I and the old notes, we are not quarreling yet. We would start our official quarrel as from the 31st.
Do you have an official bank of yours?
Just don't worry. Pay them over to me, give them to me, hand them over to me, deliver them to me. Anyhow, just bring the old notes to me and leave off what I do with the old notes.
Let's believe this is an advert. You're going to pay the Living TV management for this advert.
No, I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm rather giving you an advice.
Listening.
No, you ought to pay. You ought to pay for this advice when I say you bring to me. So, the new notes are not yet there. They have not really gone into circulation. You would begin to talk of having gone into circulation when the Ogo seller, the woman selling Ogo in the market, the Ose seller, the Nnu seller, the vulcanizer, the meat seller, and so on. The, what is the other one? Is it the gala seller? When they have this money available to give, so that when you give them 1,000 naira note, they are able to give you change of 800 naira, 700 naira in the new note. That's when you say it has gone round. So right now it hasn't gone round, and there is therefore a challenge to those unscrupulous politicians who wish to engage in vote buying. Some of them are even threatening that if you like, do anything you like about the new note, we will still have our way and we will still be able to get through. So extending the date indefinitely or close to the election day, the aim is defeated.
Okay, now you also said here that the new Naira note has not really gone round.
Yes.
And then why, if the new Naira note has not gone round, why the deadline on 31st? Even as
people were given ample notice. We wouldn't quarrel with the notice because we had more than almost 3 months, about 3 months notice.
Yes.
Yes, we had that. And that is not just the be-all and end-all. The government is also trying to encourage the economy to grow by going cashless. People are now beginning to install mobile banking apps on their phones. People are beginning to use the CBN governor, the people he referred to as their agents, the people you and I call POS operators. Yes. And we've been using these ATM cards to make transactions, using the POS to make transactions, using our phones to make transactions. So it's not as if we are left completely helpless and hopeless. No, that is not correct. What they are doing is to shore up the cash in circulation, reduce it as much as possible to the barest minimum allowable, and thereby encourage cashless transaction, reduce liquidity, and help the economy to function better. When you have too much money in circulation, such as we had, even the CBN couldn't account for up to 2-3 trillion or more of the notes it had sent out into circulation. It had no control of them, didn't even know where they are. And some people will kidnap people, they will pay cash, they will keep in the bush. And when it is time to exchange, they will order the CBN to extend it. Yes, a particular group of people. They will say, look, our members have cash in the bush. CBN, extend it. Fine. So these are some of the mischief being targeted, and extending the time indefinitely would defeat the purpose.
Okay, even if the extension is not indefinite, even if it is not indefinite, don't you think that there are some other persons outside the visuals and outside the politicians who are equally going to suffer this the more? As of yesterday, I was in the bank, and you can't collect this new cash over the counter.
No,
and even if you go to POS, it's not more than 10,000 naira.
No, you didn't even get it very correct, sir. With due respect, the banks were instructed by CBN to load the new notes into the ATM machines.
Yes.
But all this while, the banks have been paying in using a combination of the old notes and the new notes. If you are picking 100,000, they will give you 95,000 in the old note and 5,000 in the new note. First, they started with 98,000 in the old note and just 2,000 in the new note. So many ATM machines, let's talk about a place like Aba. Many ATM machines are not dispensing the new notes. Like I said, there is no time the implementation of this policy will go without some inconvenience to the people. However, notice was given. And secondly, there are other ways we could go about it. I've given at least 3. You have the ATM cards, you have the POS service machines or the operators. You also have the mobile banking app that you could use.
Okay, Council, you know, about 2 days after the Senate had their sitting and also announced, pleaded with the CBN governor to extend this deadline to 31st of July. Barely after, less than 24 hours, the Emefile came out to say and apologize to Nigerians that he is sorry. The deadline remains the deadline, even with the plea of the Senate, the red chambers. And then until now, he has remained adamant with the plea of this extension. And you think it is good for the common man?
Well, the people making the plea are the politicians who are primarily targeted by the policy. It is intended to frustrate their schemes and gimmicks. Telling the CBN governor to extend to July, that is not very commendable on their part. Telling him even to extend at all, in my humble view, is also not very right and proper. You see, the Igbos believe that a messenger remains a messenger and does not use proverbs to deliver his message. There is no doubt that the CBN governor is answerable to Mr. President. He told Nigerians, I obtained the approval of the president to do this. The president also came out and owned it up and said, yes, he sought my approval and I gave it to do this. At that point in time, even if the proposal was originated by the CBN or Emefile as a person, at the point the president gave the approval, it ceased to be Emefile's directive or policy. It became that of Mr. President. So telling the messenger, summoning him to the red chamber, the green chamber, or the purple chamber, to sit on appeal over an approval given by his boss and master. Do they mean well at all for the man? I wonder which servant would have the courage to do that. You originated this idea. Your boss agreed with it after, of course, discussing it extensively, weighing the pros and cons, and he said, let it fly. Midstream into implementation, some other person by the side, belonging to an organization or a body, who are part of the people targeted by that policy to stop their, their gimmicks. They are now summoning you. If they have any quarrel, for God's sake, they should leave Emefile alone and face Mr. President, who gave the approval. That is my humble view. All of them are also elected. They are all politicians. So it is easier for them to get an extension through Mr. President. Mr. President, all they need to do is to tell Mr. President, order your man to extend it. Once Mr. President agrees with them, that's the end for Emefile. Whenever Mr. President says, peg it at, that's when he will peg it at.
All right, we're sorry we are not going to go on a break until this one is over. And so you can call us now on 091-682-84994. 091-682-84991. All right, by having said that, Council, the House has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the scarcity of the new Naira notes. And the CBN was not represented at that meeting during the hearing. The CBN was not there. And the House had frowned at that. That was what led to Bajabi Amila, the Speaker of the House, to threaten with warrant of arrest on Emefile, the CBN governor. Meanwhile, even as we speak, banks shut down many of the automated teller machines known as ATM across the country due to the shortage of these new Naira notes. How can the ordinary man cope with this?
Well,
let us also look at the CBN's side, because this money is supposed to have gone round now by now.
If it goes completely round, the aim is defeated. I said so. That's the point I've been making. If this money goes round before the election, yes, the aim is defeated. The aim is that it should not be available completely before the election or by the time of the election, so that politicians would be frustrated in their bid to engage in vote buying. Remember that we are now using a refined electoral system or process, using the Beavers machine. With it, we are told, and we want to believe, that alteration of votes after results have been entered would be a thing of the past. And if that is so, then the battleground has shifted from collation to the unit. And since it is the battlefield is now in the unit, what you do in the unit is vote buying for those unscrupulous politicians. Money for hand, cast here, take them, vote. So when they don't have it to give to people to vote against their conscience, the people are now left with no inducement to vote against their conscience, but to go in and in the absence of the inducement, vote according to their conscience. That is what Mr. President told us that's the legacy he has been in recent times assuring and reassuring the nation about, that he intends to be the one to place it on record that he was the one that ended rigging by ensuring credible, free and fair elections, even if it is for the very first time.
Yes, because in the bank yesterday, at the counter, it was so surprising that you can't get even one note of the new note.
Yes.
You are referred back to, and they said that is the directives from the CBN.
The CBN said so.
The ATM.
You know why? The organs in the various banks were also being used by the politicians to, hoard the new notes, keep the new notes, and deliver to the politicians who would exchange, bring the rotten ones they have been hiding inside sock-away pit, GP tanks, air-conditioned mud houses, and so on and so forth. So When they would bring them out, they would give to these big orgas in the banks, and the big orgas will now give them the new notes. So that is the accusation that has been flying for some time, and that is what CBN, the mischief that CBN tried to stop by saying no longer go through the counter, make it through the ATM, which is available to every member of the public. Even if it is not the branch you bank with, even if it is not your bank, once you have a valid ATM card and you have account, you have money in your account, funds in your account, it is funded, go to any ATM machine, slot it and enter the necessary code. It will give you the money you need.
They don't just give car was there yesterday.
No, I said that is why CBN now stopped the banks from doing across the counter, directed them to go through ATM, because the ATM is open to the public. Yeah. They want the money pushed out to the public and not to privileged few who will use it for some ulterior and nefarious purposes.
Okay, but before we go for today, let's look at this video clip on Mr. President's advice on this, or what the President said on this. So can we have the video clip? All right, while we're waiting for the video clip, Council, it is also important that people be enlightened more. If the video clip is ready, let's have it. But if it's not, we go. Now that the thing is so, and we are talking, this is just about 2 or 3 days from today. Today is Friday, and the thing is on Tuesday. It's less than 7 days.
It was not today that we were told that's when it will end. We were told in about October last year.
That's what we're saying, but it's about ending now.
Yes.
So what is your advice on our people?
I've been telling some of our parishioners, please don't come to church on Sunday with the old notes. You know that in a place like Aba, we have this sit at home that has been in place for how long now, whereby some official institutions, including the banks, do not open to the public on Mondays, and then the thing is ending on Tuesday. So let today be the last day you're going to do business with the old notes. I think it's safer. However, the banks, many of them have been floating messages that they are going to remain open even on Saturday and Sunday for purposes of receiving the old cash only. Not when it gets to that Saturday, you go there to maybe do some other transaction. Yeah, they will say no. They said they will be open just to accept the cash and put into your account, so that by maybe Tuesday or so they will start returning them to CBN.
All right, it's like the video clip we're talking about is not in sight for now. Finally, the church. Let's look at the church. You are talking about the church. It was even on news today that a lot of church, including what's this? The name of the church today? We read today that have advised a lot of their members. You know, this Kumuyi's church, Deeper Life. They've advised their members not to come to church with the old notes as from Sunday. So,
and I do not personally. I don't see it as a wrong. I don't see it as a wrong advice to give. Come to think of it.
But all these big churches like yours have bank accounts that can.
Just hold on and hear me out. Okay. Ordinarily, the tithe, the church collection, the offerings, the seed, and everything are like sacrifice unto God. We consider, we agree. Are we agreed on that?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, that's good.
And then, when you want to sacrifice to God, what do you give God? The rejected?
Best. No, the best.
Fine. So it only accords with common sense and logical reasoning that in giving God, as represented by the church, his institution, you don't bring the worst gift. You bring the best. You don't bring the worst. You bring the best. So don't come to church on Sunday with the worst, with the rotten notes, with the old notes. You had the opportunity of bringing saints to church. You didn't. Then when you know that the government has said we are no longer going to accept, that's when you're bringing it to the church, apparently to God. That's unfair. You're not being fair to God. You're not being fair to God as represented by.
You may be right, but let's assume the person who is in possession of these old notes has not had the opportunity of getting the new ones.
Yes.
And then tomorrow.
I also have a solution. I told a few friends of mine that if you know that is what you have, don't wait till Sunday. Gather yourselves together, go to a POS operator, and give the person. There are several of them. You know,
yes,
in some churches, you also have them. You have even some staff operating it.
But would they give you the new notes?
Hold on, sir. Give to the POS operator, as many of you as you can, and by the time it is totaled to a particular amount, on Sunday, the POS operator will transfer that amount totaled, to the church. And by so doing, you would have also given your offering to the to
okay,
God,
let us just check
without
this
offending anybody.
1 minute video clip, and then before we round it up today.
So this change of currency, I think there will be people a lot of money. But time has been given from October to December, 3 months is enough, whatever money you have, to get it changed through a legal system. So I don't know why people are complaining about it.
So despite the complaint, there's no going back on the policy?
No, there's no going back. There's no going back. My aim is to make sure that Nigerians believe that we respect them as an administration. So Nigerians should vote for whoever they like from whichever party. Nobody will be allowed to mobilize resources and thugs to intimidate people in any constituency. That's what I want to go down into Nigerian history for.
Council, you had that.
That was exactly what I said. The man has said
this
it.
man is your friend,
though. He's our president.
Yes, he is.
He's our president. He might not be my favorite, but he is our president. Like I said earlier, it is wrong for the National Assembly to continue inviting the CBN governor to sit on appeal over the directive of Mr. President. That cannot happen. And expect the CBN governor to honor such invitation. It's not possible. It's certainly not possible. And the man has said it all, that there is no going back.
No going back.
He said 3 months, from October to December. Yes, he was right. 3 months, October to December, 3 months. But when you include January, you have 4 months. People had ample notice.
Then why the warrant of arrest?
We'll see how that plays out.
All right, wonderful viewers, this is where we are going to draw the curtain, today, and I'm sure you've heard that. For those of you who are still piling up the old notes, do something about it. You heard what the council said, except
if you don't know what to do with your money, where to, you can always meet me even on the road and give it to me.
So you had that. So please make sure you are not stuck with it, and endeavor to go to your bank. Even banks will be operating even tomorrow to make sure that the exchange is done. Give it in, and then go to any nearby ATM or POS, and I'm sure you get a new one. That's the much we're going to take for today.
Or begin to use your ATM cards for transactions. Use your mobile banking apps for transactions. Until the new notes circulate properly, probably after the elections.
All right, by Barrister Chukwemeka, we are glad to have you here today. Thank you for being part of this. And this is your anchor man, Chineduma DLS, signing off for now. And keep watching Living TV until we call your word again.